Hey guys, Josh here again with Windy City. We are moving on. We're on episode 2 now of the secret to facility management. Uh, we're going to talk today about what a new facility manager can do to make an immediate impact. All right, and when I say impact, I don't mean impact on the bottom line. I don't mean impact specifically on the vendors that they're using. I mean an overall impact that will affect everything. Okay, this is like a pre-base for when you walk into a new position, and no matter if you are the facility manager for one specific uh, uh, facility or location or 100 locations. Okay, there's a couple of things that you have to do first and foremost. I'm not going to get too much into reviewing the numbers, okay? Because that is something that you have to do, but I don't know a whole lot about what you specifically look for. I could guess, but guessing has gotten me into trouble in the past, so I'm going to talk about the things that I know can make an impact from my perspective and from talking to facility managers and from developing relationships with them. So, new RFMs or new FM directors are often expected to make an initial impact on the R&M expenses. One way to do this is to meet every existing vendor that the company is currently using and determine why the previous facility manager was using them to begin with. Okay, this is imperative. This is 100% vital to the future of the industry. Okay, because I've talked before about how relationships in the past have dwindled, and if you have a set of service vendors that you use and you take them from place to place, that's great. That's a form of relationship, but you also have to open your mind a little bit and make sure you're not being short-sighted. I know you've dealt with a lot of service companies before, and you know which ones you like and which ones you work best with, but always be humble enough to admit that there may be better opportunities out there that might already be in place. And that's the biggest thing here. I'm not saying that you have to stick with somebody because somebody else was using them. I'm saying do your homework. Don't just make a change. Don't just cut everybody that's currently doing it, because you think that they're the problem, because you have no idea. You really don't. You can't tell this by looking at the numbers. I promise you, you can't tell this by looking at the numbers, because if you're a facility manager that's well traveled, you'll see a million variances in pricing, right? So you can't just go by pricing. Excuse me. You get what you pay for, and that extends to every aspect of business. But so meet with every existing vendor, determine why the previous facility manager partnered with them. Okay, now evaluate their style, evaluate what they do, but more importantly, communicate with them. All right, so if you think their rates are high, ask them why. All right, if you think they put through too many quotes, ask them why. This is something that I've had to deal with in the past, because I use quotes as a form of communication. I don't try to generate work. I try to put in front of the person that needs to know something that they may not know. All right, so I'll quote things out even if it's not in my scope of work, just so they know that it's something that we noticed, because I'm your ears, I'm your eyes on site when you're not there, especially if you're overseeing 100 plus locations. All right, so don't automatically jump to conclusions. No matter what you see from any vendor, talk to them, communicate with them, and find out why. You might be surprised by their answer. Okay. Also, share your immediate objective with them and determine how and if you can work together to achieve that. All right, when you get a new position, all right, you go through the interview process. Whoever hires you as a facility manager for a reason. All right, you sold yourself. Okay, you sold yourself in that interview. So your objective then becomes holding true to the promises that you made. and what you led somebody to believe that you can come in and do. If you promised a 5% decrease in R&M, then you know what? Share that objective. Share that objective with every single service company that you deal with. All right, and if you're honest about it and you don't try to beat around the bush and hide, what you're trying to do, you'd be surprised about how many companies will work with you. If you go up to one of them and say, hey, I'm so and so, this is what I do, this is what I oversee, I'd like to continue using you guys, but I want to share my objectives and make sure that we're both on the same page. And once you do that, more often than not, a company will sympathize. They'll sympathize with you, and they'll say, okay, well, I understand that. I've had to make those promises in the past as well. This is what we can do. Even if it's, hey, can you cut your rates by 5%? Whatever it may be, just ask and be courteous and genuine about it. Because if you're courteous and genuine, anybody who's anybody is going to listen. And if they don't listen, then that's a red flag right there. So share your objective, and then explain up front before you even move forward that if you're unable to find a common ground, that you'll have to make a change, because that is your job, and you need to work with companies that also work with you. So explain up front that if you can't find a common ground with any of this, that you'll have to look for a new vendor. And if that expectation is set up front, do you really think that that company's not going to do anything and everything possible to share your objective and to move in the same direction as you and to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish? This is how relationships are built. This is how relationships are maintained. And this is how a facility manager can make an immediate impact in any organization that they get hired into. All right, makes sense? I hope so. Anyway, subscribe below to stay up to date with these videos. Sign up for the newsletter, podcasts, social media, blah, 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 blah. Make sure you comment. Let me know what you want to see, what you think, the whole 9 yards. So that's it for this week. We'll catch you next week. Thanks again for watching.